What's going on, guys? Week 10, about to get it started. Heavy squats, heavy bench, and this is kind of the week that sets the tone for the meet. This is going to let you know pretty much where you're at, and if this week goes good, typically as long as you don't do something to screw it up, the meet goes pretty well. And there's a couple factors that go into play. Obviously, the last couple weeks, if you're cutting weight, how the travel affects you, how you perform on meet day, if you take too much stuff and you mess up your body and it doesn't react well, you know, things like that can all play a role. But if you kind of keep things the way they are, keep it consistent, and you don't try to do you just want to take away the variables. So if you just can take away the variables, then you're gonna have a good meet if this week goes well. So this is kind of the, you know, the build up, right? This is your last heavy stuff, and then after that, just to kind of get into a little bit of programming, after that you go into more technical speed work, you know, because typically you'll see guys, and I've done it both ways, to be quite honest with you. When I was at Boss Barbell, Dan liked to have us squat pretty heavy and bench pretty heavy the week of, all the way up to it. It may have changed since I've left there, but you can't argue with the results, and I've had really good meets training there. And then I've also done other things with you know, the reverse bands and kind of like an overload method at a certain point out, and just kind of what I found that works best for me. And although I'm still learning and still trying to figure this out, is that I tend to like to do the heavy stuff like 3 weeks out, and then 3 to 4. Deadlift was 4, a little bit longer to recover from. And then from there, it's just kind of like dialing everything in, getting the speed, getting the technique down, and just learning to do everything as robotic and consistent as possible, and just trying to develop as much force within each lift while maintaining proper technique, because strength usually tends to keep itself there for, you know, 3 to 4 weeks, whereas speed and stuff like that can tend to drop off if you're training too heavy and too slow, which is kind of why you want to pick weights that are going to be able to move pretty good throughout the training cycle, because you don't want any drop off in output. And for me, that's really important, because I'm a slow lifter. I can grind out weight, and if I start to pick weights that are out of my scope, then I'll still be able to get them, but it slows down tremendously, and that can affect the rest of your training for not only the week at hand, but the following weeks as well. So just a couple things that you want to consider. Get you guys to the footage, let you know how the week goes, and kind of recap a little bit of not only my programming, but the programming I'm doing for Kaylee, for Gerald, and for Chris, who are all doing the US Open, and kind of how they differ based on body type and weight lifted and things of that nature. So I'll kind of recap that at the end, but check out the training last week of heavy lifting.
spin like that towards me.
2.
About you?
I haven't done one yet. I want to.
You should.
Yeah, definitely.
You want the other part again?
1, 2, 3.
Watch on.
I have to hold it.
Up. Come on, lock it out, lock it out.
So there you have it, end of the week. Really happy with the way things progressed this training cycle. Able to hit a 30-pound squat PR, able to hit a 30-pound deadlift PR, and able to add a few pounds to the bench press, and most importantly, shoulder feels 100%. So to kind of, you know, cap it off, recap the training cycle, it went great. Obviously, none of it matters until meet day. Then you can kind of reflect on it and see how things go. But happy with where things are, and I feel good. I feel healthy. I feel beat up, but I'm healthy, and that's kind of where things tend to lend themselves at the end of a training cycle. And as I said before, just to recap a little bit of Kaylee's training, she obviously did a meet, and then we had to kind of re-peak her. So she did a small peak for the USPA meet, first meet in wrap, so definitely had to find some things out. She tweaked her knee, so we had to kind of ease into training a little bit, which is not ideal, but she hit some rep PRs, she moved some good weight, and because of the scenario, I had to make her last heavy training closer to the competition. So next week will be her last heavy week of lifting. She'll do her last heavy deadlift this week, which she did 330 pounds. So she tied her meet PR while being fatigued and during training. So that's very positive. And on top of that, I always feel like lighter lifters, Gerald's the same way. He's a 148er, even though he's one of the strongest 148ers in the world. He still can push the weight and push the training a little bit closer to the meet. So he'll be doing pretty much all of his openers next week, whereas myself and Chris more so because he's stronger than me, and he's a bigger guy, and he's doing a little bit of traveling in between San Diego. So a lot of his training has been ranges. You know, if you feel good, push this. If you don't, take this. And kind of doing all his heavy stuff, you know, last week and then half of this week, and then everything else is just kind of cruise control for him. And I feel like the heavier lifters, they need a lot more rest. They don't need to be pushing weight so close to a meet. I feel like they just don't recover as well, and they're just moving so much weight that it just doesn't make sense. And I also like to kind of undulate their heavy days. So if they're squatting heavy, they're probably going to be pulling a little bit lighter. It's not a linear progression with squat and deadlifts with them. I feel like that beats them up a lot, and they're just not able to recover from that, and it usually ends up poorly on the meet day. So just some things to think about as you get into becoming a better programmer and a better coach is to make sure that you're open to learning from your lifters, which I learned a lot from Chris and G, and I learned a lot from Kaylee, considering we live together and we're dating. So I get a lot of feedback, a lot of complaining, but a lot of feedback. And I feel like that's one of the keys to becoming a good coach, is being able to listen to your lifters and not just force your ideas and your philosophy upon them, but kind of take what they're giving you and build from that, based off of how they've performed in the past and how you perform as a coach and your philosophy. Don't get too pigeonholed into one train of thought, and make sure that you're able to expand upon that and be able to present that to your lifters so that they know exactly what they have going on. Because obviously if you're working with high level lifters, they're already at the point where, you know, why should they have to listen to you? They got stronger without you. So if you can't intelligently and kind of break it down to where they understand it, then you're gonna have a lot of fight and a lot of problems. So you want to be able to make sure that you communicate to your lifters and take as much feedback as you can, because they're obviously the best of the best for a reason. And that's just kind of what I've gathered through my 10 years of doing this stuff and lifting and experience. I know that's uncommon these days to actually have experience with lifting and coaching, but I see a lot of really good coaches do a lot of really good things, and then I see a lot of the newer coaches that you can just tell they just follow the books, they follow the science, but they've never really actually trained with real lifters, and they've never actually coached with real lifters in person, or they haven't done enough themselves to know what it takes to get stronger, to know how to recover from that. So just something to think about. I hope you guys enjoy the videos. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And after the meet, we have a lot of content coming out. Like I said before, I'm just beat up and tired, and I just really want to train and, you know, be done with it and go home and not really shoot extra videos and stuff. But be on the lookout for that. Make sure you subscribe so you can get those videos. Until next time, guys, take care.